what is it that DJ Khaled says? Oh, another one. So here we are doing another one. So this is my 11th ranked team. To be fair, though, again, I got these guys in tiers. So first four teams. So Justin, Robbie, Brian, Patrick are in tier one. Tier two is Sarah, Ryan, and myself. Tier three is Leyland, Stefan, Mackenzie, and then Eileen. And then the back three are in their own tier of woefulness. We'll call it the tier of woefulness. I'm not even going to call it like tier four. I'm going to call it the tier of woefulness. But yeah, I think even though I have Eileen ranked 11th, the team's got a little funky. The team is genuinely quality, so I think she could obviously make the playoffs. She's made the playoffs 2 years in a row, 3 of the last 4. Eileen's getting good at fantasy. We live in a strange world. So yeah, 12th nomination, $68. Apparently auto drafting me because my computer shut down when this was happening, so my auto draft pushed her for $68 for Puka Nacua. So I do adore me some Puka. I got him for free a couple years ago. He was a superstar. He had almost 1,500 yards as a 5th-round pick in 2023. Last year, he was injured, and I remember this because he was on Lauren's team, and she auto-drafted, and it did not go so hot, and he missed 6 games, and he missed 2 other games as well. I think he was injured in 2 other games, so part of 2 other games, too. I think he wasn't a full go until week 10. So back half of the season, 10 through 17, huge target share. 37% target share, so like 11 targets a game, and he averaged 22 points a game. Monster numbers. He led all receivers in yards per route at 3.7. I think the concern for him is he doesn't get a lot of touchdowns. Last year he only got 4. I think he's gotten 10 in 2 years. And he's only gotten, I think, 6 end zone targets last year. All that's to say, Cooper Kupp's gone. Puka, Cooper Kupp had one of the greatest seasons ever. The Rams won the Super Bowl, and then 2 years later, Puka Nacua in the 5th round comes out of nowhere and takes his job. That's crazy. So they brought in someone to kind of help the load, and that doesn't overlap with his skill set as much, and that's Davante Adams. Davante Adams is on the outside. Davante Adams has been a top 5 receiver in this league for probably at least 7 years. Davante Adams is a beast, and having that guy draw attention away from Puka Nacua is just crazy. Now, that being said, notice a pattern. Eileen took Tyreek Hill last year, spent the most money on a receiver ever. She spent, at least in our draft, in our auction draft for our purposes. So she spent 72 on a receiver. This year, Sarah led the way with 71 on Ja'Marr Chase. Eileen was next with Puka Nacua at 68. So we're paying a lot for elite receivers, a lot. More than any of the other receivers are going for. I'm not sure a single other receiver went for 60. So we went for a lot for basically these 2 receivers. Now, the difference is, I thought basically Ja'Marr Chase was at his apex last year. I did not think, obviously, Puka was because he was injured. I think Puka is more of an injury risk than some of the other guys who have a shot at being number 1, which are, I guess in my case, Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, and Ja'Marr Chase. Puka is more of an injury risk than all of them. That being said, Puka, I would say, is in the best situation of all of them, mostly because I think Sean McVay is better than all of the head coaches and offensive coordinators of any of those teams. Even Tevin O'Connell, who I like a lot in Minnesota, with Justin Jefferson. Who did he learn under? Sean McVay. And even with Matthew Stafford's back being kind of bulky, Puka just gets open. Puka is consistently getting open underneath. Now, he's kind of like a crash test dummy. We're being honest. He takes big hits over the middle. So the one concern I have with him is getting hurt, but he's a bona fide, clear-cut, top 5 wide receiver with the possibility of being the number 1 receiver in the NFL at any given time, depending if all the stars align. He stays healthy, he gets his end zone targets. That's it. That's all he really needs to catch up and possibly pass the other guys. In the meantime, I'll assume he'll stay healthy like his rookie year. We'll go with 105 receptions. We'll go with 1,500 yards. We'll go with 8 touchdowns. We'll go with maybe 100 yards receiving or rushing. And yeah, clear cut number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football. I don't know if he'll be number 1 this year. I think he'll be like number 4. You paid for him at cost. But Puka's an incredible player. Incredible. The number 1 slot receiver in football, bar none. It's crazy to consider what Cooper Kupp did in that Super Bowl with the Rams, and now Puka has taken the mantle and literally gone up. So, 26 nomination, $21, an old favorite of Leyland's, DeAndre Swift. So, obviously you're going with the Taylor Swift theme. I don't know if you meant to take some good sleepers, but DeAndre Swift is quite a good sleeper. He was the lead back last year in Chicago with Matt Eberflus. He played every game for the first time in his career, and he was 10th in carries for running backs and 14th in targets. Got a lot of targets too. His rushing efficiency wasn't great, so Joe Mixon was I think the worst for all the starting running backs at 3.4. DeAndre Swift was only 3.8. The line was pretty shaky. They gave up the most sacks in the NFL to Caleb, which was 68. So 68 divided by 17, that's a lot of sacks. And he only scored 6 touchdowns. So why are we saying breakout? Well, 2 reasons. Number 1, I did not know this until after, and I wish I did know this. See, this is the kind of stuff I need to think about when I'm doing a draft. So, in his entire 5-year career, DeAndre Swift has either been the 15th fantasy running back or the 21st, or finished somewhere in between. He has never been worst. He has never been better. So that's very good efficiency. We are assuming he's a bottom. Basically that's like a back-end RB2. So we'll say he's the 17th fantasy running back. Now, that being said, he might even be better than that. He might break through 15. Why? Because he's a new head coach. It's Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, the wonder kid from Detroit, who actually came in and said, hey, this offensive line's not good. We should make it better. And then they did. And lo and behold, the Bears have joined the 21st century and the offense looks average. It was okay. So, I think they're going to pass more, kind of like Detroit. I think, obviously, Swift is not the number 1 there. I think DJ Moore. And then, I guess Rome Odunze. Then probably the first round pick Loveland. Then maybe Luther Burden III. And then Cole Kmet. So there's a lot of mouths to feed. But Swift has been consistently good, under the radar. I think he'll get his 1,000 yards rushing. I think he'll get his 300 yards receiving. He might break 40 receptions. He might get 9 touchdowns. The one concern I would have is if the job is taken from him. And that concern might be because DeAndre Swift, as you remember, once upon a time was in Detroit with Ben Johnson, and they replaced him. And I'm kind of just like, I don't know if Johnson, he might know the playbook, he might be good, but there was a reason they did that way back when. We have Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. I think we can do better. And lo and behold, we got Jahmyr Gibbs and Dave Montgomery. And they did better. So, there might be someone on that depth chart who might come for that job. We shall see. But he's only 26, so he's still again, I said before, the aging curve for running backs happens sooner, so prime is 25. So we're in the middle of the prime, essentially. The prime is 25, 26, 27. sometimes 28's on the back end, and then we're going down at 29. So we're in the prime. We're at 26. He's got an improved line. He's got a good head coach. Probably 1,000 yards. Probably like a 1,400-yard guy, which is kind of like James Conner, a little off James Conner. And James Conner went for 26 and got for 21, so sneaky little deal. Not a super discount, more like you used a coupon and you got like a 10% discount, but a discount nonetheless. I would just be concerned about Swift in case he is not beloved in Chicago. So 40th nomination, $16. Taylor Swift's fiance, Travis Kelce. Future Hall of Famer. Taylor Swift's fiance, that's the most important thing. I don't care about any of the other stuff. But his days as an elite tight end are probably over. He did have 97 receptions last year. He did not break 1,000 yards. He only had 3 touchdowns. And his yards per target was 6.1, and his... I forget what it is. Yeah, his yards were also like a low at 823 going back to like his... Yeah, even his rookie year, he had more than that. So, it's the coming of age. It happens. I think this is probably a swan song because he's now engaged. I can't imagine he's going to hang on, kind of like Tom Brady hung on. Tight end's a big position. He makes a lot of money doing podcasts. He is being wed to one of the wealthiest, most successful, most beautiful women in the world. He has other things on his mind. But I think he will go out with a bang. I think he's going to enjoy this final year. I think he's going to put everything he's got into it. So I think he'll get his 90 receptions. I think he'll get his like 900 yards. I think he'll get his like 6 touchdowns. And I think he'll be relatively in like the flex area kind of startable sometimes player. Now, did you overpay for that player? Yeah, of course you did. It's Travis Kelce. For what I just described is probably like a $6 player. You paid $16. That's a lot. I can't really knock it too much though. I mean, he's engaged to Taylor Swift. He might have the best season of his career, just purely out of motivation. We'll see though. I would love to see that. I don't know if that'll happen though. The quickness is just, it's not what it once was. He can still read coverage, he can still escape, but he doesn't, his feet, you can watch his feet, his knees are heavy. 42 nomination, $14, Patrick Mahomes. All right. So Mahomes is kind of weird. We are not getting MVP version of Mahomes. He's actually only 29. But he hasn't been an elite fantasy quarterback. He's more of like he's basically around quarterback 10 typically now, which is a weird thing to say. I think he finished like, I want to say 13th and 11th the last couple of years. So he still attempts a lot of passes, but everything's underneath. Basically ever since the Bucs Super Bowl where they took away all the deep passes with cover 2, everybody plays cover 2 on them. So they've tried to beat that by getting a bunch of like quick, small receivers. Like they have an archetype. So, you know, like the Sky Moores, the Rashee Rice, Kadarius Toney. And I like these players, but Xavier Worthy. Worthy, I guess, is a deep threat because he's got such speed, but everybody else is like an underneath small, like almost like a Julian Edelman, Wes Welker archetype kind of guy. Almost gadgety. Kind of like Tyreek Hill, but the difference was Tyreek Hill was just a flat burner. And maybe Worthy can become that. Either way, the point is everything's underneath now, and Mahomes has become a lot more conservative. They don't throw. They do not throw as many touchdowns as they did. I think last year he only threw for 26. I think he might rebound. Like, he'll miss Rashee Rice the first 6 weeks, but he's finally got, since Tyreek Hill left, like probably the best receiving core he's had in some time, because he's got Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice, and obviously still Travis Kelce. That's a pretty good foursome. Worthy's one of the fastest players at the Combine ever. Hollywood Brown's also one of the fastest players at the combine ever. Obviously, Brown is later in his years, but he was quality he had a quality couple years in Baltimore. He had a quality couple years in Arizona, and then things just kind of fell apart last year when he was injured. So we'll see if he's still got something in the tank, though. I suspect he does. I'm kind of still surprised he's a free agent considering some of the terrible benches on the back end of our league, but I digress. He does rush some, so like 300 to 400 yards every year. So I think, again, he was the 11th best fantasy quarterback like last year. Before that, he was the 13th best fantasy quarterback. So we're going to say like he's going to be the 12th best fantasy quarterback, which, again, we kind of overpaid for that. We paid $14 for that. That's probably like, I don't know, $7, half that. Like Baker Mayfield, I don't know what Olivia. No, I do know. Olivia wasn't thinking because Olivia took Baker Mayfield and she spent $6 on him to be her backup quarterback for no reason. But that's probably around where Patrick Mahomes should have been. So all that's to say, I think he'll have a better season. I think he'll get like over 4,000 yards this time, so probably 4,200 yards, over 30 touchdowns, so probably like 32 touchdowns. I think he'll get a few touchdowns rushing, maybe like 350 yards rushing. I think he'll be around 10 interceptions on the season. And he'll be a startable quarterback in our league who isn't fantastic, who might win you a week or two. Yeah, I think you overpaid on Kelsey and Mahomes. I think you paid the Chiefs tax essentially on them. But at least they're playable. At least we didn't blow money on backups who can't play. At least they're able to be in your lineup. 47th overall. I regret not pushing more for this. $18. The reigning Heisman Trophy winner, the number 2 overall pick, Travis Hunter of the Jaguars. So Hunter is a super interesting player because Hunter is the first real player since Deion Sanders to play both ways. And even Deion, I guess the other one is Devin Hester, but he didn't do it as much. But Deion was like the first one he played some part-time wide receiver, whereas Hunter is probably the best. He was probably the best receiver in this draft class, and he's going to be the number 2 receiver essentially in Jacksonville to Brian Thomas Jr. And he also is going to be the number 2 cornerback as well in Jacksonville. So it's interesting because you're using him as a wide receiver right now. And I understand that because he's going to play like 80% of the snaps on offense, apparently. And he's going to play like 45% of the snaps on defense, which I understand. That's a lot. It's a lot of snaps. I don't know how much he can hold up. And I can understand that typically, if this was any other team, chances are they would probably play him at defensive back because that would be a big advantage. But for you, it's not because, funny enough, you have an elite safety. You have one of the best safeties in fantasy football because he spent $4 on Budda Baker. So I guess he's a starting wide receiver in your team. It's just going to be, he's going to get a really weird way of going about it. But he is among the elite. I think he will get 1,000 yards. I think he will get like 6 touchdowns. I think he'll get like probably a few interceptions. And it'll be super interesting to see what his point total looks like at the end of the season. Because I don't know. Like, getting defensive stats and offensive stats and playing him at either position is really weird. I'm not really sure what to like compare him to, but if we had to go just strictly by projection, if we combine the two, what I project basically it all equaling out is like him being a solid wide receiver too, right around the area of Tyreek Hill, and that's crazy discount for $18. Crazy discount. He should have been like almost like Tyreek went for 34. He should have been at least a $30 player. So it's kind of crazy that you paid for Puka Nacua at cost. You got DeAndre Swift a little discount, and then you overpaid for Kelsey and you overpaid for Mahomes, only to make all of that up on Travis Hunter, and you probably didn't even mean to. And he's the only player who can play both ways, and of course he's on your team where you don't need him to play both ways. So really weird way of going about it. But yeah, if Puka Nacua is your number one and Travis Hunter is your number two, that is a fantastic foundation, and I might be underselling how good Hunter could be because he plays both ways. Because the other thing we have not considered is he doesn't just play both ways, he also can punt return. So he might even get a couple punt returns in there for touchdowns. This guy can do it all. He's a super special athlete, and I'm excited to see him play. I know Jerome, as a Jags fan, is excited to see him play. I am surprised Jerome didn't bother budgeting to get him, but I guess not considering the way the draft went. But I'm surprised you are the team that ended up with him. I'm surprised no one tried to spend more money on him. I'm surprised that both him and Brian Thomas Jr. and Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne all went basically for a discount. Like, everyone essentially ignored the Jaguars. So good on you. Like, we're 5 players into this, and we're kind of just like we're at even. We didn't even mean to be, but we are at even. And it's a very weird way to go about it, but we are doing a good job, strangely. But I think Hunter's fantastic, and you ought to be really excited to have him on your team, because it's really special to have the first two-way player in a long time and watch him play. Like, I will watch Jaguars games just to watch him. That's how special a player he is. 52 nomination, $14. The disappointing Breece Hall. So, Andre spent a boatload on him last year. I traded for him. He was a major disappointment. His first 2 years, in 22 and 23, he was like a top 6 fantasy running back. Last year, he was like 17th. I think he was top 5 in snaps, and he was top 5 in routes, targets, catches, and yards receiving for a back, but his efficiency as a rusher was not there. He was just average. Now, it's kind of strange to say we're going into year 4, and he's only 24 because he's another young guy who came in, so technically running back's prime. He hasn't even entered his prime yet. But with Justin Fields there, Braylon Allen there, not feeling too great about it, man. I talked about this a lot, I think, in Stefan's video. I talked about this a lot when I went over Braylon Allen and how the teams, like, it's weird to say that basically the team's spirits essentially went up because Braylon Allen was playing. But you could just tell, like, he plays with a lot of joy, and he's really happy to be there, and he just, like, wants to do his best, and he's just putting it all on the line out there. And, like, I feel like that's not great for Breece Hall. I feel like Breece Hall's on the trading block. I feel like the team plays better with Braylon Allen. And that's a weird thing to say, because Breece Hall probably has more talent than him. So, I guess in the meantime, we'll just kind of project. I don't actually think he'll finish the season as either one of two things in my estimation will happen. Either Breece Hall gets traded, or Breece Hall gets, Braylon Allen takes that job. I don't know which one, but I think one of those two things happen. In the meantime, no matter how it ends up, I'll just project Hall to be a starter the whole year. How he gets there, I don't know, but we'll find out. So we'll say 1,000 yards rushing. We'll say 400 yards receiving. We'll say like 7 touchdowns. And he'll be in like the RB15 in fantasy, so RB2 territory. He's a good player. He's an explosive player. His pass catching ability is one of the best. Just don't know how to use him. Like, they've never known how to use him. And now with Justin Fields taking rushing too, I'm not even sure Breece Hall will be the number 1 rusher on the Jets by the end of the season. I think it'll be Justin Fields. So I don't feel great about it. Yeah, I think getting a mid-range RB2 though for what you paid, 14, It's a really good discount. I can't really argue with it. I mean, Robbie paid like 19 for Aaron Jones Jr. or Senior. I paid 45 for James Cook. I can't really argue with Breece Hall for 14. So 54 nomination, $16. Another Kansas City Chiefs. So we were tripling down on Chiefs. We took Xavier Worthy. Now, Worthy is a speedster. He was the first round pick of the Chiefs last year out of Texas. He was involved both as a rusher and a receiver. You'll remember him scoring a touchdown in the first game of the year on an end around. So he is almost, they use him kind of like a gadget player, a bit like Deebo Samuel. So he handled a hefty target share with 26%, which was like roughly 9 touches a game, including the playoffs. And including those playoffs, he was scoring at least 19 fantasy points. So he had a really good end to the season. But that being said, Rashee Rice is back. Rice will be back after his 6-game suspension. I think a lot of people are overrating Worthy. I don't think he's going to be the number one. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be as explosive, and I do think this is Rice's job. But since Rice is missing essentially half the season, counting the bye week, we'll say Worthy this time makes 1,000 yards. We'll say Worthy gets like 10 touchdowns, and he'll be a super interesting gadget player that they try to work into games, and he's the deep threat. Like, they have been looking for a deep threat since Tyreek Hill has left, and I think Worthy is that guy. So I think we're going to get away from the Travis Kelce, the Hollywood Brown, the Juju Smith-Schuster, the Sky Moore, all those guys. We're going to get away from that, and it's going to be the Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy show. And I think this is Worthy's time to shine. It's time for the Deshaun Jackson comparisons to be lived up to. I don't know if he can make it. I see him more as a wide receiver 3. But considering our other 2 wide receivers, I don't really care. Yeah, I think you basically paid for him at cost, maybe a little more. I think tripling down the Chiefs is not great. We shouldn't have 3 of them. I don't mind the stack with him and Mahomes. Maybe try to get rid of Kelce or do something with him. But I can't argue too much of it. I really like Xavier Worthy. I think he's got a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see what it looks like. I just think you paid a lot for him. But I don't blame you. You were probably fighting Justin for him because Justin wanted to collect all the young players. 68th nomination, $7. Jaylen Warren. I'm glad I waited to do yours because he just signed a contract extension this year, which basically gives him like a $1.5 million bonus this year and $7 million for next year. So I'm really happy for the undrafted free agent that was Jaylen Warren has made himself into a starter in this league. So we're entering year 4. He's getting a bigger role because Najee Harris is gone. He was more situational when he came into the league, and now he's starting to touch the ball more. I would say he's more of a passing game specialist. He's more of a third down passing scat back. I think he has like 99 receptions over the past 2 years, but he's never had over 150 carries. So it used to be in Pittsburgh, you just wanted one bell cow back, which was like Le'Veon Bell or Jerome Bettis. But in this case, I think we got a timeshare. I think Warren is not going to get his 150 carries. I think he'll get around 600 yards rushing, but he'll get over 50 receptions, and he'll get over 400 yards, and he'll get like 6 touchdowns. I think Caleb Johnson will come on because he's a great fit for the Arthur Smith offense, and it will annoy the crap out of me that we won't treat one like Derrick Henry and the other guy is just the third down back, but what have you. So I think Warren is more of a flex kind of player. He's not someone I really want to be starting over a full season, but he is someone that I can situationally play. I think he's a good quality running back, and running backs are currency in this league. So if anything should happen to Hall, he's not great, or Swift, this is a good third running back to have on your team, and I definitely respect you getting him at a discount, essentially. A lot of people overlooked him, and you shouldn't overlook starting running backs. I don't even like Javonte Williams. He's still a starting running back in this league. So starting running backs have currency. You always need starting running backs. So definitely respect getting Warren for $7. That was one of Eileen's better picks. 96 nomination, $8. It's funny because this is why I mentioned Puka, because now we're kind of turning it back around, and here comes Cooper Kupp. So Cooper Kupp spent his first 8 years with the Rams, and he was elite. Like, he was elite. He was at his apex during the Super Bowl year in 2021, and even the next year, 2022. But now it's 3 years later. Yeah, he's missed at least 5 games the last 2 years, and he's 32 years old. He's still a good player, but once Puka came back last year, he wasn't really doing a whole lot. I think he wasn't even averaging like 5 points a game in the last 5 games. You're hoping he still has something left. The worry is he left Puka as a slot receiver to now run into Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's another elite slot receiver. I'm not really sure Kupp is an outside receiver. I'm not really sure he has that magic with Sam Darnold. I'm not really sure Seattle's going to pass the ball a lot. So we'll say like 900 yards. We'll say like 5 touchdowns. And we'll be really nice to Cooper Kupp, and hopefully he has a good season. Because I don't want to see someone who I think had a Hall of Fame season 4 years ago just become another guy. I think he still has something there. But Father Time is undefeated, so he's definitely a flex option at this point. I think he's slightly overpaid for that because the upside isn't great. I would have rather had someone young, but at least he's a contributor, and I'll give you that. So there are other teams in this league who could really use someone like this, and I think that probably rounds out your starting lineup because if I remember correctly, we're probably playing Nacua, Hunter, Worthy, and then Kupp, and then we got Kelsey on the bench. So quality amount of like receiver room. Like we are 5 deep in receivers. That's very good. And we're 3 deep in running back. We're still going deeper. I love it. 32nd nomination, $4, Tyler Algier. So definitely a player. Let's see, Jerome took Bijan. Definitely a player Jerome should have had his eye on. So going to year 4, third year as Bijan's backup. As we know, Algier is a good player in and of himself. His rookie year, he had over 1,000 yards rushing. But last year, he had his lowest marks in snap share, his lowest amount of carries, his lowest amount of targets. He only had over 12 touches, I think, once. And that was the only time he had over double-digit fantasy points. So he is essentially the handcuff to Bijan Robinson. Now, again, just like I said, the same thing about Aaron Jones Sr. and Jordan Mason. I think Tyler Algier is good enough to own his own backfield. The problem is, in this case, he is competing against basically a top 3 back in football, and Algier's maybe like a top 20-ish back in football. So this is, if Bijan is not playing, Algier is playing. And if Bijan is like in the Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry territory, Algier is more in the, I'm not going to disrespect him like that. In the Brian Robinson Jr. type of era, if that makes sense. I think he's a quality player. I think he could be his own backfield. I think he could rush for 1,000 yards. I think he is like 80%, 75% of what Bijan Robinson is. But that extra 25 is the difference between elite and good. So I like him. I'll say 500 yards rushing. I'll say 4 touchdowns. I'll say maybe 125 carries. But realistically, he has the most value to the owner of Bijan Robinson, because Algier is an instant top 10 fantasy option if anything should happen to him, because he is a quality backup who ought to be a starter on his own team. And I'm hoping, we're going to year 4, I'm hoping he does not sign an extension, and next year he is on his own team. So after that, I mean, we got a deep team, dog. We got a deep team. 138th nomination, $1. Xavier Legette, my favorite player from last year's draft. 5 years at South Carolina. He kind of had a mixed season last year. He only had like 6 targets a game. He only was scoring maybe like 35 yards a game, essentially. He was not... I don't think... Things in Carolina were weird, because it was like, first it was the Bryce Young show, then we brought in Andy Dalton, and then it was the Bryce Young show again. And they made Adam Thielen be the guy for a while, and now we're all in on Bryce Young. And we drafted another receiver, Tatora McMillan, to be the number 1, and we trade away Thielen, so Legette's the number 2? Question mark? I guess the only way I can really look at it is like, he was better than Keon Coleman. I'll give him that. So we'll say 60 receptions. We'll say 800 yards. We'll say 5 touchdowns. He's basically like a back end flex that you're hoping becomes something more. We don't know that. We're not certain of it, but you're hoping that he continues his development. He continues to kind of work his way up, and you're hoping that McMillan becomes Jamar Chase and Legette becomes T. Higgins. I don't think either of them have that kind of upside, but I think Legette is like a hard worker, and I think he's going to push himself, and he will get open. There were times during last year's season where he was open, and he was creating separation. They just could not get him the ball. So I don't know if he's in the right situation for himself. I'm interested to see what happens with it. He's probably on your bench for a while, and you just kind of see. But as a young player still developing, I'm excited to see it. He's got pedigree. He's got talent. The situation's not great. So we're going to find out. 152 nomination, $1 on Luther Burden III. So he was taken the second round. I thought he was a first-round pick out of Mizzou, but he was taken the second round. He's replacing Keenan Allen, who's now back in LA. He's only 21, and he's going to be in the slot playing opposite to DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and behind basically first-round pick tight end Colston Loveland. I think it's unlikely we get like consistent production from him just because we have so many mouths to feed. I don't think he was taken to be the guy. Obviously, all those guys I just named have higher pedigree or history of production than he does. That being said, if something should happen to them or if his talent elevates him to be so, he might become something. But I'm not going to project that because it's hard being a rookie wide receiver in a tough situation with a lot of other elite options. So we'll say 400 yards receiving. We'll say 3 touchdowns. We'll say you give it like maybe a couple months to see if they start using him out of the slot or how effective he is, or maybe this is a pass-heavy offense with Ben Johnson, and he becomes like the, maybe Loveland becomes the Sam Laporta, and he becomes the Jameson Williams. But I have my doubts about that. But still, for $1, I don't mind jumping in and seeing it. So $166, Tyler Lockett, the unknown, formerly cut number 2 receiver in Tennessee. So Calvin Ridley's still there. They got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. Tyler Boyd's a free agent, and we brought in Tyler Lockett. So super veteran receiver rooms just constantly turning over in Tennessee. And we are in year 11. So 10 years in Seattle, year 11 in Tennessee. Yeah, he was playing number 2 to DK Metcalf last year, and now they're both gone, which is real weird. And Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp are the guys in Seattle. I like him. I think he'll have another down year because I'm not sure that offensive line can really protect him all that much, and I'm don't think Cam Ward's going to go to him a whole lot. We'll say maybe, like last year at 600 yards, we'll say 500 yards, we'll say like 3 touchdowns, maybe 45 receptions. He's a quality player, but he's there to develop the room. He's not there to be even that big of a contributor. But in case of emergency, you can play him. He's startable at times, but he's more of a bench filler than anything else. I would consider cutting him right now and trying to find someone with upside over him. Okay, that's a lot. So, what does that all mean, essentially? Well, it all means I like the team, but the team's 11 for a reason. It's really tough for me, outside of, like, I guess Nacua, to see any real upside with these guys. And even Nacua's upside comes with the injury risk. And the only other guy is maybe Travis Hunter, mostly because I don't know what to make of him. But that's more just like straight unknown than me thinking he'll be like a superstar receiver. But I do think the team, unlike a lot of teams, has a lot of depth. I think the team can survive injuries. I think the team, other than Nacua. They need Nacua to stay healthy. But other than Nacua, and even if Nacua got hurt, we got enough players to start to be I don't know if it would be a good team, but it would be a competitive team. So if Eileen can weather the storm and kind of do what she does, and just be kind of crafty, kind of like sleuthy, and just kind of make her way through the season, she's got enough to get in the playoffs and make some noise. Now, does that mean she's going to win a championship? The reason why I have you as 11th is I don't really see you winning a championship. But to be completely honest, I think this is a good team. In a normal year, this would be like a top 6-ish team. The problem is, essentially, the way I kind of look at this season is the back three. Like last year, we had Lauren auto draft, so there was like one team just like way out in the woods, and the other 13 teams kind of just like were competitive. This year, we got 3 teams way out in the woods. We won't even put in the woods. We'll say way out in the ocean. And the other 11 are already on shore, just kind of like, what are you guys doing? Like, the waves aren't even coming, and you're going to exhaust yourself or drown. So, I think the team is good. I think the team has quality. I think the team has depth. I just don't think the team has upside. But that isn't to say you won't be competitive. That isn't to say you won't make noise. That isn't to say you won't make the playoffs. This is a good team. I just don't know if it's a dangerous team. But availability is the great equalizer, and we shall see. But I think he had a good draft, all things considered. This is just a weird way of going about it. This is a C. So, yeah, not bad, Eileen.